On to the engine, these are the springs and retainers we're going to be installing, and just to compare, this is the OEM 2JZ spring and retainer. So you could see the difference in thickness. Look, this is much thicker. The coil is thicker than the OEM 2JZ coil. So this will allow us to, rev the engine with more confidence and more reliability. Also, since we are doing the 274 billet cams from GSC, we're gonna need this to go along with the cams, otherwise we can't really use that cam. And just so you guys see the difference, these are already two titanium retainers with the thicker spring from Supra, and you can see the difference in diameter on both. So we're gonna do everything, or every single valve, intake and exhaust, as well as the cam. So give me a little bit of time and I'll show you how everything turns out. Alright, so just finished installing all the springs and retainers. Now the next step that we decided to take is to replace the head studs, because these have 130,000 miles and we're going to be running more boost, so we don't want them to stretch. So we're going to replace them with the ARP studs. These take a lot more torque and don't stretch as much as this. So we're going to do that, and then after that we're going to drop the cams, the bigger cams, with the sprockets, and that should be it for the engine internally. Alright, so the last and one of the most important parts on the 2J is the cams. So we're going to be going with GSC S2 cams, 274s, intake and exhaust, 274 degree duration, meaning the cam keeps the valve open for longer time than the stock ones. The stock ones, the duration is 233, and the way you can see is, if you notice the thickness on the lobe, this one from left to right compared to here, and this one is much thicker. I don't know if you guys can notice that by eye, but I can see it right away. This one on the right is way thicker than this. Also the height, this one is a little taller than this too, because the lift is also bigger. So it's gonna make a lot more power and gain a lot more RPMs with this without sacrificing low end or mid range. That's one advantage. The second advantage is, if you notice here, this is cast material, so it's weaker. This is billet, machined metal, so it's a lot stronger. This is the intake side. So that's the second advantage. Third advantage is, you get that nice idle sound on the 2Js with these cams, so the customer is gonna like that too. And then for the cam sprockets, we replaced the original ones with the BC cam gears, and the reason we replaced them is because not only because it looks nicer, but because you can change the cam configuration with this, meaning you can shift your power band earlier or later depending on what kind of turbo you have, what kind of racing you do. So this is not just for looks, this is to configure how you want the power output on the car. This is going to be a street car, so we're going to configure them so the car is more responsive. We're going to lose a little bit of top end, but it's fine, you want it to be responsive. We could also configure it the other way, so it has more top end than low end, but it's not as fun, or it is fun but in a different way. So anyways, we're gonna see this on the dyno eventually. This way you guys can see exactly why this is a good option to get once you do cams. Alright, so let's put them on the engine, and here you can see the cam sprockets with the cams installed on the head. Obviously you can see the springs and retainers underneath, which we did before we did the cams. And the last step is to install the timing belt, the new gaskets for the valve covers. After that, we're going to move on to the turbo kit, installing the intake manifold, the electronics, and we should hear. Almost forgot to mention the spark plugs. These are the old ones. These were iridium, and these are the racing ones, which you see the tip is further in, so the heat range is different, and this will allow us for more boost and no misfires. So let me get those in and then we're gonna move on to the rest. One more update on this 2JZ is that the OEM crankshaft pulleys are rubber. So as you can see here, if you notice these lines, this one already started to crack. And the one thing that happens is, because it's starting to crack, the faster the engine revs, which happens when you make more power, because it's gonna rev faster, it's just gonna rip it apart and it's gonna create a lot of issues. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna replace this old rusted pulley with a new ATI damper. So with this, we won't have issues with the pulley flying apart, and it also eliminates harmonics from the crankshaft. It prevents the oil pump from failing, the timing chain. You know, it improves power, torque. We can rev the engine higher. So this is really a big deal when it comes to the 2J. Also, since we had to remove the radiator to remove this pulley, we found that it had a weld in there and it was really old, and everything in here is plastic. So the hoses are really old too. So we're going to throw a coil aluminum radiator that's a bit thicker, and it's all aluminum, with some Mishimoto hoses. So this way we kill as many bugs as possible. So we're gonna do that and then I'll show you guys how it looks. Time to install the ETS turbo kit. Here you can see the manifold. It's pretty nice and thick. We got the two tile gates, 44mm, the BOV from tile as well. Precision 6870. So we want the spool and the power. This is the perfect choice. The 4-inch exhaust also from ETS. The intercooler kit, 5-inch thick intercooler from ETS. The hardware, all the piping, couplers, hardware. This is a little reservoir for the radiator. And let's put it on the car. We don't have to remove the power steering cooler, the old fan. So let's get it going. Okay, these are the exhaust wastegates. We're going to configure them with the springs. There are many different options, bunch of options. In this case, I'm going to configure them so they have 15 psi without the electronic boost controller. So with this combination of green, blue, and black, we should achieve 15 psi without a boost controller. So that's a good start. And this is the blow valve that goes on the intercooler pipe. So this has also a spring, and it also needs some tweaking, so we're gonna play with that later. Make sure it doesn't leak any boost under load. But yeah, these are the gates from tile. Alright, nothing there, but there's gonna be something in a bit. Before installing the manifold and the turbo, we went ahead and upgraded the motor mounts from stock to TRDs, because these are a little stiffer. And for all the Supra people that don't know, the mounts for the older models from 93 to 96 are different than the 97, 98. So notice the length, it's very different. So obviously the mount is also different to compensate for the height. Block is the same, the 2J block is the same on all the years, but the mounts change. And the thing is, the dealer doesn't sell the OEM ones anymore, the show ones, so you have to buy something aftermarket. So we bought these billet ones. So we're gonna do this first, and then we're gonna install the turbo and the manifold. Okay, so here you can see the mounts in, billet ones, like I said before, with the TRD mounts on both sides. Here you can't really see anything because it's very crowded on the right side. And here's the ETS manifold with the 6870 turbo, and the last steps to take is to weld an elbow here to connect with a coupler to that black tubing that you see down there. Everything else is installed underneath the headlights. The 5-inch intercooler that you don't see because owner wants it to be not visible, but it's there, you see it. And obviously the rest is here, the tubing and the BOV is underneath this headlight. So the next steps are the downpipe with the rest of the tubing, the two gates with the dump tubes, which are these, and obviously the intake pipe with the filter. So in the next video I'm going to show you guys the car running on the dyno, so we can finally hear it. And if you're wondering how it looked with the new wheels and brakes, that's how it looks. Go to the rear. Can't really see because I don't have room. But anyways, I'll show you guys on the next video how it sounds and how much power it makes, and all of us want to know, so just stay tuned.